I watched them move around the floor. He held onto her as they moved together, swaying on their feet, seemingly moving as one. It was seamless, effortless, and they were obviously well suited as partners. The look on my wife's face showed she was loving it. The music filled the room as the members gathered around, clapping and enjoying the couple's efforts on the dance floor. I had moved from my stool at the bar to look into the large function room where the dancing was taking place, to see my wife dancing with her partner. Her weekly dance practice was never my thing, but Linda loved it. When we joined the club, she was overjoyed to learn they had a dance section. I sipped my drink as I watched Linda and her partner walk to the side of the room opposite me. While still holding hands, they were engrossed in conversation about their performance. I felt a twinge of jealousy as I looked on, seeing their fingers intertwined as they chatted with another couple from the club. I hadn't arranged to meet her this evening. I dropped into the club on my way home after finishing work a little early. I was supposed to be finishing work at midnight tonight, but a job was completed early, so here I was with 3 hours to spare. So far, she hadn't seen me arrive and was so engrossed in her dancing that nothing else mattered. She wasn't expecting me, so she wasn't looking for me. I saw her partner, George. He was a few years older than us both. In fact, he had retired and was in his early 60s, almost 20 years our senior. He was a self-made type, confident and something of a ladies' man who had realized that the way to meet a variety of women was through being involved in the dance section of the club. The fact that he was a very good dancer also made him an attractive choice of partner to the women of the group. Linda had mentioned him to me several times and said he was a sought-after partner by the ladies in the group because he was so good. I had zoned out after hearing how good he was repeatedly. Maybe that was why I had turned up to check him out. I had told myself not to be stupid, but nonetheless, here I was, watching and sizing him up. We had been married for 20 years and had 2 teenage children, Rachel, who was just 18, and Ryan, at 16. Both were very independent and starting to lead their own lives outside of the family nest. In fact, both were enjoying a full social life at present, which left us as parents alone in the family home more often than not. Hence, the decision we both agreed on some years ago to broaden our social circle and join our local social club, which had a variety of events, including dancing, as well as regular organized trips and fun days out. All in all, we settled into a routine of getting involved both together and separately in various activities. But the deal was that it was not to impinge on our time together. That agreement had worked fine until recently, when Linda started to become more involved with her love of dancing. It slowly seemed to be the one singular thing she wanted to do and spend her time doing. Apart from the fact that she did it alone, as I was no dancer and thus not included in this activity with my wife, it was okay at the start. But of late, it had been noticeable at home that the dance evenings and practices had increased from once a fortnight to weekly, with the occasional extra practice night thrown in for good measure. It happened slowly over a period of a few months, I suppose, but here I was, sitting at a table in the corner of the function room, watching my wife holding hands with another man openly while I sipped my JD. The group of about 20 people or so were totally oblivious to my presence in the corner of the room as they chatted excitedly together. I watched as she stood with her partner close behind her, his arms snaked around her waist, holding her possessively. They looked so natural and casual together, it worried me. I could feel the rage brewing inside me as I looked on. As George held onto her, she made no attempt to move away or keep an appropriate distance between them. My blood was starting to boil. I put my drink down and braced myself to move. I was going to break up this little party when the group dispersed and the music started again. The couples milled around for a few seconds, and then I saw my wife emerge from the crowd with a new partner. I sat back in my seat as I scanned the pairings. Her new partner was another older guy. Then I saw that all the men were in their 60s, or so I thought from their looks anyway, and the majority of the women were much younger. No wonder they were smiling, I thought to myself. The pairs moved around the floor as I watched. The guy dancing with my wife held her tight against him, and I noticed his hand was firmly lodged on her lower back. They were seeming amiable as they danced. In fact, Linda looked a little flushed at one point. I decided I had had enough of watching and slipped away back to the bar. Their session would be finished in a few minutes, so I would wait in the bar for her and act casual. I got another drink and sat beside one of the fruit machines. The bar was quite busy, so I melted into the background. I watched as the dancers exited the function room and milled around the bar area. I waited, but Linda did not appear. After 5 minutes, I squeezed through the crowd and peered into the function room to find it empty, no one in sight. Perplexed, I looked through the crowd of people again in case she was in the middle or something. There was no sign of her. Tellingly, there was no sign of her partner, George, or the other guy either. Strange. I moved slowly through the bar towards the exit. Outside, in the cool evening air, I looked across the car park. Nothing stirred. I couldn't see anyone, just cars. I reasoned she must have gotten a lift home or something. That's what I tried to tell myself anyway, but I was having a difficult time believing it. Somehow, there was just something not quite right. I started my mind down the pathway of suspicion, replaying the look she exchanged with George and that other guy, the way they held hands, his arm around her waist so openly. Now slipping out like this, what was going on? I walked to my car as my mind filled with mistrust, imagining all sorts but with nothing really to go on to substantiate it. Just a gut feeling that something was not right. I started my car and pulled out of the car park. If she had gotten a lift home, she should be there waiting for me. It was just after 9:30 p.m. Linda wasn't expecting me until after midnight, so we would have time for some fun tonight, which would be good, I thought as I drove towards home. I hit the garage door remote and slid my car inside with no fuss. As usual, we had a big double garage. Linda's car was parked in its usual spot. I slid my hand along the bonnet. It was cold, so maybe she had gotten a lift to the club. I exited the garage through the rear door and into our backyard before entering the house through the kitchen door. It was locked. I used my key to get in and felt the house was empty. The sort of hollow sensation of quiet emptiness echoed at me. I looked at the clock. It was 9:55 p.m. There was no way if she had left to come home before me that I had passed her, was there? I went upstairs, stripped out of my clothes, and got in the shower. The hot jets of water poured over my head and face as my mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening, if indeed anything was happening. Wide awake and refreshed, I toweled myself down and slipped into some fresh clothes. It was 10:30 p.m. Where the hell is she? I asked myself, and who is she with? I could feel my anger bubbling under the surface, threatening to burst out. But who at? I was alone. I needed answers quickly or I would go nuts. By 11:05 p.m., I was pacing the floor, worried, concerned, angry, livid, and totally pissed off. Something was going on for sure. This was not like her, or was it? I worked late shifts every 3 weeks at the local print factory. I was a supervisor, so not a minion who got really dirty, more a sort of lower management lackey. Still, a good job, but the shifts were a pain in that respect. I suppose there were opportunities for her to step out on me during the third week of the rotation, every night from Monday to Friday, if she wanted to. There had been no telltale dropping off of the sex between us, although when I did the late shift, that was a week of no sex until the weekend, usually. But that was okay, really, and we had gotten into that routine. I sat thinking about what to do. Do I confront her tonight? What did I actually know? Not very much, really, only my suspicions and gut feeling. I knew I needed more. I needed to know exactly what the hell was going on. I looked at the clock. It was 11:27 p.m. Linda would not be expecting me home for at least an hour or so maybe if she was up to something, she would want to be home before too long. I ran back upstairs, cleaned the shower quickly, and grabbed my dirty clothes before hustling back down the stairs. I slipped out the back door, locking it behind me, and into the garage. It was 11:38 p.m. Should I get out of there in my car or hide in the garage? She wouldn't need to come in here as her car was already here, so I reasoned she would go through the front door. I sat in my car and waited. I disabled the garage door, just in case. I didn't want to get caught hiding, did I? I sat in the dark. The silence was deafening. At 11:58 p.m., I heard the car ease to a stop outside my house. I heard the engine ticking over quietly as my heart pounded in my chest. My ears were filled with the sound of my blood pumping around my body. At 12:03 a.m., I heard a car door close and the engine slowly increase in volume as it pulled quietly away. The next sound was my front door opening and closing. I breathed a sigh of relief. Why relief? I don't know, but my body relaxed for a few seconds. Then I felt the tangible tightening of my muscles as the rage started deep inside again. I forced myself to sit, waiting until 12:18 a.m. I took a few deep breaths and exited the garage. I opened the back door. It was unlocked this time. She must have done that, I thought. Curious, I stepped into the kitchen and called out, "It's only me." I heard a voice answer from upstairs, "I love you, okay? I'm drying my hair." I dumped my dirty washing in the washing machine and noticed there were a few items there already. Curiosity got the better of me, and I fished out what turned out to be Linda's underwear, bra and panties. That nice purple set she bought just recently. I had to look, so I felt her panties. They were soaked. I could smell her scent and a very strong scent of something else. I tossed them back in the machine and walked to the stairs. The evidence was stacking up. It was enough to cause one almighty row for sure, but I needed irrefutable proof. I wanted to show it was undeniable. I wanted the moral high ground and the evidence to back it up. Retribution would come later, but I wanted there to be no doubt that when I lit the fire, it could not be put out. I suddenly thought about the kids. Where were they? I hadn't given either of them much thought before, and they definitely were not home. It was Wednesday. Think. Neither of them had college this week, so they were probably staying over at friends. Yes, that must be it. I trudged up the stairs towards our bedroom, my heart heavy but pounding like a steam hammer in my chest. I was walking into the unknown, or maybe just an uncertain future. There would have to be a confrontation, but I needed to know what the hell was going on first. I saw Linda sitting in front of her dressing table, drying her hair. She turned, smiling at me. "How was your evening?" I asked her. "Oh, it was okay. I went to dance as usual. Brian picked me up. Have you met him at the club?" She smiled again. "No, I don't think I've had the pleasure." "Does he dance, too?" "Yes, he does. He brings his wife along, too. He gave me a lift tonight, too." She looked at me as if gauging my reaction to this snippet of information. "Have you just had a shower, love?" I asked her, seeing she was wrapped in a towel. Her eyes narrowed a little as she realized her situation. "Yes, I showered a while ago. Just haven't got into my night things yet and decided to wash my hair, too. I know it's late, but it felt a little clammy, and you know I can't bear that." Her face flushed a little as she turned away, fussing with her hair. I bit my lip. I knew she was lying, but I had to be patient. I leaned over and kissed her on the cheek. "Well, I am bushed. I need to catch up on some sleep." I stepped around the bed, pulling my fresh clothes off quickly and jumping into bed. I lay back, watching her in the mirror as she fussed with her hair. She saw me watching her and smiled, but I could tell there was unease in her smile this time. "You okay, love? You seem different or something," she said, looking at my reflection in the mirror. "I am fine, sweetheart, as long as you are, of course. I hope the dance session went well tonight. I know you love it. I was thinking maybe I should make an effort and start coming with you. It would be nice to meet some of the others or even take a few lessons, too. That would be nice, love. They're talking about a special trip to Blackpool sometime soon, too. Not sure when, but it could be a weekend away." I watched her as she looked at me in the mirror. She was trying to be cool, and there it was, the first mention of something out of the ordinary. Were they planning a weekend away together, just the two of them? No, it couldn't be. They would never get away with that, too many people would find out. Helen slipped into bed after a few more minutes of teasing and drying her hair. As I lay back, watching her, she kept glancing at me in the reflection of her mirror. I could feel her nervousness as she saw me watching her. I could detect and almost feel the guilt emanating from her across the bedroom. I smiled at her, which seemed to unnerve her even more as she finished her hair and applied her night creams, all the while feeling my eyes on her but saying nothing. It was as if neither of us wanted to be the first to crack and say anything, a battle of wills, almost. Inwardly, I was in turmoil and barely holding it together at this point. Eventually, Helen slid under the covers and clicked the bedside light off, seeking the security of the dark as she whispered, "Good night, hon." I lay in the dark, my mind whirling as I tried to process what I had discovered this evening. I was as sure as I could be that Helen was engaged in something with her dance partner, or maybe it was the other guy I saw her dancing with. I knew her underwear was soaked in male harmonics, or at least her own juices, but in my mind I knew it was the former. Now there was this trip to Blackpool that had surfaced out of nowhere. I knew it's the Mecca for dancers, but I don't recall any mention of it at the club. That could be explained, I suppose. I then started to wonder where she had been since 9:30 p.m. and how fortuitous it was that she arrived home just before my usual finish time. Coincidence? Innocent? Maybe. No, something was definitely going on here. As I lay in the dark, listening to her steady breathing, I committed to finding out exactly what and with whom before I tipped my hand to her. There would be consequences. I woke early to find Helen already up, and the smell of fresh coffee wafted from the kitchen. I followed the scent after a quick shower and dressing. I padded down the stairs and found her sitting at the table, scanning the newspaper. Breakfast TV was on in the background, providing a soft murmur that filled what could have been an awkward silence. She looked up at me, her eyes peering over the rims of her glasses. For some reason, I always found that look sexy. It was no different this morning, and she knew it, too. "Morning, lover. How are you this morning?" she asked. I looked at her, smiling. Although inside I was cautious from how I felt last night, I didn't want to confront her too soon, so I put on my happy face. "I'm good, babe. All the better for a good night's sleep." I poured coffee and offered her a top up. She shook her head, sitting down. I grabbed some toast and took a bite as I looked at her, trying to work out what she was thinking or if I even knew who she was anymore. "So, how was dancing last night?" I asked, grabbing the sports section of the paper and opening it up while looking at her over the edge of the paper. She didn't raise her head from looking down at her section of the paper as she replied, "Oh, you know, as usual. It was the same crowd. Anyway, I told you that last night." "Sorry, but I was rather tired when you got in." By the way, her eyes never left the paper as she spoke. "That's okay, love. I was knackered myself, so I wasn't expecting anything. I guessed you had a busy day too, so it's all good." I looked over at her again. She was still avoiding eye contact. I smiled to myself. Is that guilt? Maybe. I have to go see a mate this morning. Won't be too long, though. Did you say something about a trip with the club or something last night? I wasn't really paying attention. I watched closely for any signs of reaction from her. She seemed to stiffen just momentarily but then flipped a page of her paper before answering. "Oh yes, did I mention it? I suppose I must have. Well, that's right. A few of the dance group were discussing a trip to Blackpool, you know, the Tower Ballroom and all that. I don't know much about it, but it's a weekend trip. One of the guys is looking at booking a hotel for maybe a few of us. I don't have any details yet or a date, but it may be soon. Would you be okay with that?" I looked at her as she tried to give me the gist of the trip without any details. She was giving a good performance, that's for sure. Is it for couples, as in man and wife, or just dance partners? I asked casually. I don't think there are many places. It could be as few as 4 couples, so I think it's dance partners. There's a chance to dance at the ballroom there too, so places are limited. I won't put my name down to go if you don't want me to, she said, looking across at me over the rims of her glasses. I held her gaze for a second or two as I thought about it. We had been away on weekends separately before, so there was no reason to refuse or balk at this one. However, I had something to worry about this time. I played my best poker face. I'm sure it will be a really special weekend, and I know you have always wanted to go there, so why not go for it? I was surprised by her reaction. She seemed to leap from her seat and grab my face, planting her lips on mine with the hottest kiss I had had at that time of the morning in some time. "Oh, Rick, thank you. It means so much to me. I won't forget this. I really won't. When I get back, I will make it up to you." "Thank you," she gushed. I prized myself free from her grasp as I tried to fathom the sudden onrush of affection. I allowed myself a smug smile as I patted her on the bum and got up to leave. "I won't be long, love. I need to drop by Alfie's. See you about lunchtime." Helen was still smiling as I left, and so was I. I had gotten through that without getting angry or tipping my hand. I was rather proud of myself. Then I thought, wasn't the point here that I was almost spying on my own wife, who I now suspected of cheating behind my back? What on earth state was our marriage in, if we indeed still had one? I drove to my mate Alfie's place. We had known each other since school and played golf together every other weekend. It was normal for us to hang out together, so Helen wouldn't be surprised at me going over there. He was married and had a couple of kids about the same age as mine, so we had often shared tales of teenage angst and tantrums over a beer at the 19th hole in the past. I pulled up outside his place, and he was pushing his mower along the front lawn. "Hi, Rick. What's the occasion?" "It's not Sunday, is it?" he hollered as he turned and mowed away from me. I stood watching him as he turned and headed back toward me. "You got something on your mind?" "I can tell. I know that look. Be with you in a minute. Go inside while I put this away. Everybody's out, so we won't be disturbed." I went in through his open garage door and stepped into the house. It was quiet as I wandered through to the kitchen. I could see the trappings of his family everywhere. It felt like a home, lived in, welcoming, and comfortable. I sat at the breakfast bar, checked the coffee machine was loaded, flipped the switch, and waited. Alfie clattered through the doorway. He was always a bit clumsy. "So what is it, Rick?" he asked, sitting facing me on a stool, concern filling his eyes. "I'm not sure." "Well, I am as sure as I can be, but I think, no, I know, Helen is stepping out on me." I watched his face as the words sank in. "Screw off, Rick. You're kidding me." "No way. You must be mistaken." I sat silent as he looked at me. "Oh my God, you're serious. Tell me, mate, what can I do? Do you know who, how, or where? I mean, sorry, but it's a shock. You know, whatever you need, mate, I'm here for you. Okay? Are you really sure?" I could feel my eyes filling up as my heart ached. I bit my lip as I looked at him, my best friend. I needed help. I needed something. I didn't know it yet, but I definitely needed something. Alfie put his hand on my shoulder. "Screw it, come on, man. We can deal with this. Tell me what you know. I'm assuming you haven't said anything to her yet." I tried to pull myself together and took a few deep breaths before I could answer him. For the next several minutes, I filled Alfie in on what I knew, what I had seen, and now suspected. He sat back, his face pale as he saw the effect it was taking on me. I could tell by his face that this was serious too, which in a way added to my distress. As I finished my tale of woe, I seemed to feel a little better. I got a few tears out of the way too. What an idiot, I thought to myself. What are you going to do, Rick? Confront her or what? Yes, I will do that, but I need to know the extent of this. I get the feeling there's more to this. She's dropping hints about a trip to Blackpool soon with the dancers at the club, so I have an idea that it's a cover for some extra fun. I looked out the kitchen window at the manicured lawn and the apple trees that I had helped him plant a few years back. Alfie's eyes followed mine. I remember that too. It was a great day, and every year we get more apples as a reminder. Mom would have loved them. Yes, I know. I used to love her apple pies. It seemed fitting somehow to plant them in her memory. Alfie's mom had been so good to me after my own parents passed. She looked after me when I was a wayward teenager. I owed that woman so much. How I needed her wisdom now. If she were here, she would have slapped Helen into next week for sure. We both laughed at that. She was a no-nonsense Eastender, as they say, but with a heart as big as a lion. No one messed with her kids or her family. She was fearless but always fair, without question. So what are we going to do, mate? Alfie asked. I need to find out more about the guys in that dance section. I saw one or two that I wouldn't trust with next door's cat, let alone my wife, George and Brian. I don't know any others, but those two are definite maybes. Rick, think logically. If it's just those two, are they married? Do their partners or wives know what's going on? Are they involved? He looked at me as I registered his questions. They were things I had not considered yet. Although there were possibilities for some form of retribution, I knew I needed information on the two guys she has mentioned already and somehow find out about other members too. They all seemed to be very tight when I saw them the other evening, so your guess is as good as mine. I have to keep it together until I know more. Just the thought of this is making my blood boil. Alfie looked at his friend. Hang in there, mate. We will get to the bottom of this, then maybe kick some butt too. Okay, look, I will get Patty to maybe ask around the women and see if anything turns up on these guys. In the meantime, don't worry. I'll tell her to be careful, we don't want to spook them. I appreciate that, man. I do need help and someone to be in my corner at the moment. I think I will steer clear of the club for a few days in case I bump into one of them. So, don't worry, okay? We sat for another hour, just talking around options and potential plans for revenge. Some were outlandish, of course, but the mere fact I was thinking that way seemed cathartic somehow. I looked at the clock, it was after 1 p.m. Helen would be wondering where I was, well, maybe I hoped. But there was no call to my mobile phone. I left Alfie with a promise to speak again tomorrow or as soon as there was any news. Driving slowly back towards home, my mind weighed down with thoughts of my wife. I thought we were okay, even happy. I never saw this coming. But now, with the veil of betrayal lifted a little, I could see where there were opportunities and, to be honest, even small signs too. Hindsight is wonderful. Damn it, I had blindly waved her off every week without a thought of any potential trouble. How stupid was I? How trusting too. Why didn't I just go with her? I had to get a grip if I was to face my wife. I couldn't allow what I knew to burst out and turn into a confrontation just yet. If I was to get any satisfaction from this affair, I needed to get all of them, every last one of them. As I pulled into my driveway, I saw the garage door was up and Helen's car wasn't there. I parked and went inside to an empty house. Thankfully, both our kids were away, staying with friends and having a great time, no doubt. I was glad of it, really, as I had to get control of myself and maybe take a look around to see if I could find any clues as to what was going on. I spent the next hour or so checking our PC and mail accounts for any clues. Nothing. I had a quick look around upstairs in her drawers and closets, again, nothing. I sat in the kitchen, frustrated and wondering where to look next. It seemed possible that there was no paper trail and it could all be word of mouth. That would be safer and not leave anything to be found. There had to be something somewhere. I picked up my phone and stared at it. Of course, it wouldn't be perfect, but it would be a start and might give some clues. I searched the Play Store and found a tracker. Okay, all I needed to do was load it onto my phone and Helen's. At least then I might see where she was going. It was something I had to do. I downloaded the software and set it up on my phone. When Helen came home, I would do the same to hers, if I could get it from her, that is. Of course, that's where any evidence, if it exists, will be located. I needed her phone. I had to get into it and check for messages and texts. There had to be something, no matter how small. I couldn't think of anywhere else and reason. They had to communicate somehow. A few minutes after 2 p.m., I heard Helen's car pull into the driveway. The clicking of her heels on the brick paving echoed as she approached the front door. I looked towards the lounge door as she appeared. Her eyes met mine, and for a split second, I saw something, nervousness, fear maybe. I knew then she had been up to something, and so fast after our brief chat earlier too. I watched as she dropped her handbag beside the sofa as she entered the kitchen. I smiled my best welcome home smile and offered to pour coffee. She nodded gratefully. We sat opposite each other at the breakfast bar as we sipped our coffees. "How's Alfie?" she asked, as if to fill the silence. "He is good. We are thinking about a fishing trip, as it happens. Maybe while you are away dancing with your partners, if that's okay with you, of course. Patty is interested in your trip too, so if there's a spare place, she would like to join you. If you could find out and let her know." I watched her face flush slightly before she replied, "Oh, that's a shame. I found out just this morning that there are no places left now. I will make sure she gets to know when the next trip is arranged though." She looked at me with a slightly troubled look on her face, but the actor in her covered that with a belligerent look, almost smug, before she quickly returned to normal. She looked at me as she finished her coffee. I returned to looking through the sports section of the paper. "I'm going to get in the shower. I feel a little grubby." "Okay, sweetie," I replied, keeping my head down. She stood and headed upstairs to take her shower. I wondered how she could have gotten grubby just after lunchtime but took the opportunity to grab her mobile from her handbag. Inside 10 minutes, I had the tracking software loaded and working, the important bit done. I had a quick look through her messages. There were a few to a couple of contacts, with a handful sent and received this morning after I left to go to Alfie. I took the IDs and numbers of the contacts. The IDs were just initials, oddly, but matched the guys' names from the club. I was, in some way, relieved that she only messaged 3 people, so maybe it was a small group. I read the messages, but they were just one-liners stating things were all okay, but no other details. I wasn't sure how long she would be in the shower, so I left it at that for now. I just confirmed they were in contact and how, so that was enough for the moment. I also spotted an email account, so I took the username down, although the password was coded. I knew it was 8 characters long. I would work on that later, I thought. The last thing I quickly looked at was the call logs. Armed with the numbers I had written down, I checked, and sure enough, there were a lot of calls to the same numbers. Okay, enough for now. The next couple of days were tense for me but also an anticlimax in some ways, with nothing apparently happening. My mind was consumed with images and what-ifs, as well as a barrage of questions. Why? How long? How many? Even filled with my own thoughts, it was exhausting getting through each day. I begged off any sexual contact with Helen, which turned out to be easier than I expected. She did look at me sideways a couple of times, but nothing was said. The trip was arranged for the coming weekend. Helen was excited and had her dancing ensembles packed and ready by Wednesday. It seemed she was really looking forward to it for some reason. Although I never said anything, I was watching everything. Her evenings at the club seemed to have gotten her excited, and she arrived home later than usual. Her face seemed flushed too. I sat sipping a large JD when she came through the door. "Have fun tonight, love?" I queried nonchalantly. Yes, it was good. We were going over the arrangements for the weekend, travel and hotels and such. I didn't ask for details and was waiting for her to offer the information. I waited, but it never came, so I let it go. She didn't know, but I had all I needed already. Alfie's wife had been busy and a little lucky. When she was chatting to Brian's wife, she saw a copy of the hotel reservation for 2 rooms. Seems like it was just the 4 of them going after all. How cozy. Thursday, I went over to Alfie's. "So, what's the plan?" he asked as Patty pours a drink. "I want to really kick some bum, but I'm worried I'll end up killing somebody. I don't want to end up in jail. I'm going to try for some humiliation, try to screw things up a little. Maybe. I know it's childish, but what options do I have for some revenge? Me and Helen, her toast anyway. I won't have her back after this weekend. Under no circumstances. I intend to shift all her stuff out and have it ready to move to her parents' place. She will not set foot back in my house after she leaves on Friday. No chance." Alfie looked at me, his eyes wide as he saw how angry I was. Patty stood behind me, her hands on my shoulders, as I tried to hold it together. I cracked and started to sob, the first time since I found out what was going on. Patty's arms wrapped around my neck as she whispered in my ear, "Hang in there, big guy. We are here for you, whatever happens." The feel of her behind me reminded me of what I was now missing in my life. I couldn't remember the last time Helen and I had hugged each other like this or even when we had actually touched each other. I knew it had been a couple of weeks or more since we had sex. The tears flowed freely down my face as I silently sobbed. I made a supreme effort and pulled myself together. The ache in my chest, where my heart once lived, was constant, but I had to get through the next few days and weeks. Tomorrow will be hard when I wave her off. I know what she has planned, but I have to let it happen. Stopping her now will not erase what she has already done or what she may do in the future. Our marriage is busted. No way back. I clenched my fist as Patty hung on to me. Alfie reached out his hand on mine. Let's get into it, Rick. Let's do the creeps. We will find a way to screw them all over. Trust me, they will not get away with this. Friday, I left work early as Helen was due to leave by 4 p.m. Brian and his wife were driving up, and Helen was taking her car to meet with the others and go with them. It wasn't specified who the others were exactly, but I already knew who she was meeting anyway. So I expected her car to be parked at his place for the weekend. It was about a 2-hour drive to Blackpool, but it was easier to drive than to use the train. More convenient too, she pointed out, if she wanted to come home early or go out maybe. I helped Helen load her 2 suitcases into her car. She seemed excited but distracted as I felt her looking at me while I loaded the cases. I turned and gave her my best actor smile. You okay with me going, Rick? She asked, looking into my eyes, searching for something. Why wouldn't I be? It's not like you're off for a dirty weekend now, is it? You love dancing and have always wanted to do this. I just wish I could come too. Anyway, you have fun and enjoy yourself. Alfie and I are going fishing with a couple of mates, so that will keep my mind off what you're up to. She looked at me strangely. Was that a tinge of guilt I saw? Maybe her conscience was getting to her. Just then, her phone rang, breaking the moment. She rustled in her bag and looked at the screen. They're waiting on me, sweetie. I have to run. She wrapped her arms around my neck and kissed me like there was no tomorrow. We hadn't shared a kiss like that in ages. I looked into her eyes. I knew what I saw, guilt. What she saw in mine, I have no idea. Maybe sadness. She slid into the driver's seat and flashed me a smile as she started the engine and slipped off the driveway. I waved as she left, my face wet with tears as I knew it was now over. Turning, I went into the garage and pulled out the cartons I had covered up and took 2 upstairs to our bedroom. I pulled her clothes from the wardrobe and drawers, makeup and toiletries too, stuffing them into the cartons before sealing them and rolling them down the stairs. Inside an hour, I had all her stuff packed and stacked, ready to be collected. I sat down, breathing heavily, when the house phone rang. Rick, it's Alfie. How are you doing? All bagged and tagged here, mate. Just taking a breather, is all. Okay, well, take it easy on the drink. We have an alibi to build, my friend. I'll pick you up tomorrow morning, okay? Sure, I will be ready. Now that I've started, I need to keep busy. I will pop over to her parents' place later, show my face, and give them a story. I checked the phone locator, and by the way, she did go to that a-hole's home address, so that's something we can take care of quickly too. See you in the morning. I sat in the quiet of the house, feeling the emptiness, watching the clock slowly tick around. It was almost 6 p.m. now. She had been gone almost 2 hours. I checked the locator and saw she was still at the a-hole's address, not more than 3 miles from here. Maybe they were spending some time together before they traveled. My heart gave another painful ache. She has no idea what she has done to me. Well, screw you. I threw the glass across the room, smashing it against the wedding photo we kept on the mantel. I stood looking at the remains of the glass and my marriage before striding out the door to my car. I drove to Helen's parents' place. It was almost 7:30 p.m. by the time I got there. As usual, they were happy to see me but asked where she was. She's gone off to Blackpool with a couple of people from the club. They're going dancing at the ballroom. That's lovely. I wish I had known. I would have gone, her mom said. Yes, that's what I said too. Still, never mind. I'm going fishing with Alfie for the weekend and probably drown my sorrows in the meantime. Just wanted to let you know, in case you dropped by the house. Thanks for that, Rick. We appreciate your thoughtfulness, her dad chimed in. One other thing, we were having a clear out and I have a dozen or so boxes of stuff that Helen asked me to drop off here for some reason. She said she would sort it out when she gets back. Is it okay if I drop them off tomorrow morning? Yes, of course. We'll put them in the garage for now. Thanks. Well, I will see you in the morning then. We said goodnight, and I left for home, somewhat saddened as they were nice people. I decided I would write them a letter to explain things, as I wouldn't be able to face them after tomorrow. Saturday morning, I woke with my heart still heavy and my head pounding. I had not slept well with visions of what my wife was doing with George in their room. I knew I would be receiving some pictures from an investigator I had hired during the week. I had engaged him for 2 days, starting Friday night. He was cheap but seemed to know his stuff and was local, so he knew the hotel well too. Once I had given him the details, he had the place staked out, and I expected an update this morning. Checking the emails, there it was, a message with an attachment. There were a dozen photos, all showing Helen in the arms of George as they sat in a bar and then walked back to the hotel. Even one showed them sharing a kiss outside the door of their room. Another couple was with them, and they all seemed to be enjoying themselves. The last photo showed them entering their rooms. That was enough for me. We were done. Alfie arrived, and we set about loading the boxes into his truck. By lunchtime, we had dropped everything off and were back in my kitchen, drinking coffee. We need to pop into the club, show our faces, and spread our alibi, Rick said. Come on, let's get moving. We are supposed to be going fishing too, by the way. We loaded fishing gear into and on top of Alfie's truck and drove to the club, where we chatted with as many of the members as possible for an hour, mentioning fishing until even we were bored with the subject. We also made sure Alfie's truck was spotted on the CCTV with the rods on the roof. Job done. We left just after 2 p.m., dropping by my house to pick up my car. We drove to a lake a few miles away and made sure the owners knew we were there, buying our date-stamped tickets before driving around and finding a quiet spot to set up. The lake was very quiet, which suited us. Following a well-practiced routine, we had rods and bivvies set up, and what looked like a comfortable camp. Well, that's what it was supposed to look like. With the rods and bait out, we sat back and waited. At 7 p.m., a truck pulled in behind us, and Gas stumbled towards us. Gas is another mate. We go way back, almost to infant school, and he was one of the very small circle of guys I trust without question. Okay, I'm here. Any beer on the go? He looked around, grabbed a can, cracked it open, and took a deep swig as he sat in one of our chairs. Bang on time. Good man. How you doing, Gas? Alfie asked as he watched this bear of a man empty the can. Good mate. So, you off then or what? Rods all set? Buzzers and all that, I hope. Go on, screw off, and I will see you when you get back, Gas said. He stood, hugged me in a big man hug. Hang in there, man. Get it done, and then we can have some fun tomorrow. I looked at him. No words were needed. He knew my pain. His wife had dumped on him a couple of years ago. The thing was, Gas didn't take it too well. He slapped her and her bow around him before he was stopped. The guy was someone he knew from school. There was bad blood between them, and that feud rumbles on. His wife left town soon after. I know he would have her back in a heartbeat, but he is still intent on his feud at the moment. In my car, we were soon cruising down the motorway headed for Blackpool. As Alfie drove, I called the PI for the latest update. He told me he had more pictures and some video. He had managed to sweet-talk the hotel owner into letting him inside the room somehow or other. Anyway, he had some footage that left no doubt about the group's activities. They had spent the best part of the afternoon having sex and swapping partners. He also confirmed that he had the photos too. I thanked him and said I didn't see any point in hanging around much longer. I asked if he could send me what he had in the morning. Alfie could see my face as we listened to the PI on the hands-free kit. He reached out, squeezing my shoulder as I sat quietly after the call. Why, Alfie? Man, why is she doing this? Who knows why, mate, but it is what it is, and we know what needs to be done. So let's get to it. Stay focused. We pulled into Blackpool around 11:30 p.m., slowly making our way to the hotel. We drove past slowly, looking for their cars. We had the registration numbers and makes of the cars, so we parked 100 yards away and walked slowly back. The cars were parked next to each other in a quiet corner. We strolled back to the truck and donned surgical gloves, dark glasses, and balaclavas. The street was quiet by the time we walked back to the car park, and we didn't encounter anyone on the way. Hopping over the back wall that enclosed the parking area, we crept towards the cars. There was no visible CCTV, so we kept low and moved fast. Brian's car was first. The 4-valve stems were cut in seconds. A crowbar levered the fuel cap open, and a fair amount of crap, including sand and sugar, was poured into the tank. We couldn't help giggling as we did it. In under 2 minutes, we were done before moving on to George's car. Same again, all 4 valves were cut off, just for good measure, as well as topping up his fuel tank. There were also some decorative scratches added to the paint job. Satisfied we had caused enough trouble, we scooted back over the wall, giggling like school kids. The drive back south was uneventful. I felt a strange sort of release of tension after what we had done. I was taking control back of my life. From now on, I was in charge. We pulled up outside George's house, and I hopped out. Using the spare keys, I jumped into my wife's car and quietly pulled it off the driveway. I had decided not to leave Helen's car out of the fun. It was a 5-year-old Mini Cooper, a typical woman's car, so it needed modifying. We parked in a quiet lane and started the modifications. A sledgehammer took care of the windscreen, the sunroof, and the side windows. A spray can finish the artwork. An outline of a naked woman and a mobile phone number looked rather good, I thought. It was almost 3 a.m. when we drove the car slowly back and parked it on George's drive. With a quick look around, we eased Alfie's truck away from the scene of the crime. We drove back to the lake, where Gaz was asleep with empty cans strewn around him. All the rods were pulled in and locked off. Looks like he decided against fishing then, I giggled. Gaz moaned as we snuck into the bivvy for some shut-eye. All okay? Was all he mumbled. No sweat, bud. Get some sleep. Sunday morning, we woke after a couple of hours of sleep to heavy dew and the smell of eggs and bacon cooking. We stirred, and Patty was standing there, cooking breakfast. I thought you boys would appreciate a hot breakfast, so here I am, she said. She had hauled the camping cooker and breakfast with her. Also, the owner and his wife will be here in a few minutes. I asked them to pop by. Can't have too many friends at a time like this, can we? I smiled as I crept from the sleeping bag. She was an angel and clever as hell. How the hell did you end up with such a woman, Alfie? Hell if I know, mate. I was never consulted. Just seemed to happen one day. I love these guys, even Gaz. I may have lost my wife, but I still had some great mates. The owner of the lake strolled by with his wife, and we enjoyed hot coffee and bacon sandwiches. We had a group photo taken with the lake in the background and 2 double-figure carp in front. Gaz had bagged the pair before finishing the beer and going to sleep. Sleep? What a guy. Made a great picture too. We sat back, enjoying the warm late summer sun, when someone's mobile phone started chirping. Here it comes, smiled Alfie as he looked at his watch. It was just after 11 a.m. Screw her, I smiled. We both resumed the childlike giggling. The ringing stopped, and a message beeped a minute later. It rang again. We were both now in fits of laughter. The calls and messages went on for the next 10 minutes, then it went quiet. I bet they're on the move now, mate. Would have taken a while to get the tires sorted. Oh, I forgot, they won't move, will they? Laughter broke out again, this time with tears rolling down our faces as Gaz and Patty watched, trying to understand what was so funny. Within another 30 minutes, the calls started again. More laughter, more ignored messages. Alfie's phone went off with a call. We're all done, he said, nodding to me. We high-fived. Gaz looked at us. Locks all changed, mate, he laughed too. We stayed at the lake for the afternoon. After the flurry of calls earlier, there had been silence for almost 3 hours. We assumed that their cars were being sorted out and that they were now traveling back. This was confirmed by the locator I had on Helen's phone. It showed they had just left Blackpool and were moving down the motorway. Oh well, it was fun while it lasted anyway, I thought. The next call was from Helen, as she must have arrived at George's place. I was assuming she liked my artwork. I heard the chirp of message after message on my phone, then the texts. I ignored all of them. I wasn't ready for her yet. I wanted her to be as confused as I had been feeling. I wanted her to start to feel some of the guilt I felt. She needed to feel it too. I found myself getting angrier by the minute. Alfie watched me closely. Easy, bro. Let her stew a little. You know she will call her old man sooner or later. Let it flow as we planned. Stay cool. I smiled as best I could at my friends. They looked anxious and concerned. Sooner or later, it would all hit the fan here too. Patty would block Helen from me. I knew the witch needed to suffer some, but this was just the start. I checked the tracker again. Somehow, she had gone home. The call started again, which started the giggling again as we listened to the phone taking yet another message. Helen had obviously had quite an eventful day so far. Her lover's cars had been trashed, leaving her stranded 100 miles from home, hence the first set of calls home. Then, as soon as she managed to get a ride back home to collect her car, she found that it had been trashed too. This triggered the second phase of calls. Lo and behold, arriving at her previous address, she found that her keys didn't appear to work. That's where we were with the third set of calls. I looked at my phone. So far today, I had 34 calls from her mobile to mine, even messages left, and at least a dozen texts, each message getting more irate. Good. It was now almost 9 p.m. The calls stopped. We all looked at each other during the silence, waiting for her next move. Sooner or later, she would call her parents, and then they might start adding to the number of calls. You can have the spare room, Rick. The bed is made up. We don't want you going home just yet. Don't want you doing anything stupid. Patty grinned at me as she topped up my JD. Okay, I will stay till tomorrow then. I will decide what to do. I have work to think about too. Call in, take a few days off. Apart from that, Helen will know you were here otherwise. Good thinking. At around 11:30 p.m., the call stopped. I checked the tracker and saw Helen was back at George's place. I had miscalculated that move. I thought she would be at her parents' place. Obviously, she hadn't called them yet. I knew she would want to keep things quiet. Well, we'll see how long she can keep that up. Then I shared a few more JDs with Alfie before falling into bed just before 1 a.m. Sleep did eventually come, but it was fitful and filled with visions of Helen and that a-hole George. I woke up at 7:30 a.m. My head throbbed a bit, but I was otherwise okay. The shocking events of the weekend had left their mark on me. I was exhausted but felt wired at the same time. It was kind of weird, really. Patty made a hearty breakfast, which I wolfed down. Today is the day then, Rick. Maybe I'll check out my place, but I expect her to show up at some point. I can't avoid her forever, can I? But it won't be until she comes clean with her parents first, and she will tell them, believe me, or I will with nothing held back. Are you sure this is what you want, Rick? I mean, is there no way back? Whatever you decide, Alfie and I are behind you all the way. But please think about it before you go so far that there's no turning back. Patty, I've had time to think about what she's been doing. My PI has sent me photos, and I'm waiting for video evidence this morning. I know what she has done. I don't know why, though. That's the thing, what have I done to cause this? I felt my emotions getting out of control again, and my eyes were misting up as the ache in my chest built, thinking of her with those bastards. I made a plan to screw up their weekend. I know it was childish, but it was better than ending up in jail for murder. Although, I still felt like doing them all in. Patty hugged me tightly. I needed that so much right then. I was on the edge. I needed to stay calm and strong, but today was going to be difficult. I wanted nothing more than to strangle the witch and chop up her lovers into small pieces and feed them to the pigs. I was angry, yes. Maybe today was to be the day. I turned on my phone and sat in Alfie's home office. As I hooked up my laptop to the Wi-Fi, I heard Alfie chatting with Patty. I opened my mail account, and Alfie put his head around the door. You okay, Rick? He asked. He looked over my shoulder and saw what I was doing. You sure you want to see what's in there, mate? I nodded grimly as I opened the message. The PI's message gave a brief report and indicated a more detailed report was attached, along with a zip file containing photos and video. I started to sob as my heart pounded. Alfie's hand was on my shoulder as I clicked on the photos. The screen filled with a slideshow that started with Helen and George outside the hotel, then Brian and his wife in the bar. They all seemed very comfortable until there was a change of partners, hugging and kissing as they danced. This group was very comfortable with each other. Obviously, the pictures proceeded until there were shots from inside one of the rooms. I felt queasy, my stomach churned as I watched. The photos progressed, showing my marriage on the brink of divorce. I heard a gasp behind me. Patty had followed Alfie into the small room. I turned, her hand was over her mouth, and tears flowed freely down her face. She looked at me, and in seconds, we were all sharing tears in a group hug as I sobbed over the end of my marriage. Alfie turned the slideshow off. "I am so sorry, Rick. So sorry." "Sorry? What the hell is she thinking? And with those two idiots?" I could not answer him as I gasped for breath and tried to regain some control. My heart felt like a huge lump of stone in my chest now. I felt dizzy, I couldn't move, frozen in my heartbreak. This settles it as far as I am concerned. I am not having that witch back. No way. I'm going to ruin her life as far as I can. My friends saw my sadness morph into white-hot anger, and they feared for me. So did I, but I didn't care about the consequences now. My phone's ringtone broke the moment. Its loud, cheerful tone signified it was Helen. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed it and pressed answer. "Yes?" I said brusquely. "Oh, thank God, Rick. Are you okay? I got back last night and someone has trashed my car, so I got a cab home. But then the lock on the front door seemed to have jammed. I couldn't get indoors, and I tried ringing you but didn't get through. Are you still fishing or something? What is happening?" "Yes, something has happened," I answered without emotion. "Rick, come on, what's going on? Are you home now or on your way? I need to get in and change, or I will have to call work and take a day off." "Yes, Helen, you might want to do that. I won't be home till later. I haven't decided yet." I let the words hang in the air. She was silent for a few seconds. "Rick, is there something wrong? You seem a little strange." "I'm going to be fine. It's been a stressful weekend, that's all. I spent some time with Alfie and Patty. I needed to think something through." "Think what through, lover? What time will you be home? I can't even get in the front door." "My future." "Your future. Why discuss it with them? Shouldn't you be doing that with your wife?" Helen's voice was rising as she began to get a little frustrated with my cryptic comments. I think she was also beginning to sense that something was very wrong after everything that had happened in the past day or so. She was slowly starting to connect the dots. "Maybe I can help you, like always," she proposed tentatively. "I'll let you know when I've made a decision." With that, I ended the call. I felt like ice. I don't know how I managed to stop myself from screaming at her, but my sadness was hanging onto me like an anchor, keeping me steady. As I put my phone down, it rang again. I ignored it before turning the ringer off. It sat on the desk, vibrating and flashing with each new call. Not once did she mention what was done to her car or that George's car had been wrecked, both things I would have thought merited some mention. I was sure she was trying to keep a lid on the chaos at her end until she was sure what was going on. Now she knew something was afoot. George must have realized that it was no coincidence. Had they discussed it? Were they making plans to limit the damage or move on together? My heart ached at the thought of that, but my anger was fueled by the thought that they had spent the night together again. I needed to get control and not just react to events. I used the house phone and called a solicitor, arranging a meeting to discuss divorce for the next day. I also called work and arranged a week off. I knew Helen would be taking the day off, so she would be looking to track me down. It was only a matter of time before she arrived here. After making a few more calls, I went back to my laptop and dealt with the emails I needed to send. I decided to send a copy of the slideshow to the committee of the club and as many members as I could. I had a group address I used when dealing with some fundraising on their behalf, so I was sure at least a couple of hundred members would have a surprise when they opened their mail accounts. I then went after Helen's work colleagues. I knew there were a few people there who would enjoy seeing what she got up to after hours. Hell, they're going to know I'm a cuck soon enough anyway. So be it. At least this way, there won't be the slow humiliation by rumor, innuendo, and whispers. I wanted it out there, and then people would be more interested in what a 304 Helen was rather than my situation as the hapless cuck. I grabbed a coffee from Patty as I came out of the home office. She looked at me, concerned. For better or for worse, I have started the ball rolling. I can't undo it, but I can make it happen. Alfie and Patty looked at each other anxiously. You know she's probably on her way here right now, Alfie said. Yes, I know. So I reckon I have about 20 minutes to get on my way. I'm going to dodge her for a day or so until she starts getting some feedback from the messages I've sent. I fully expect that to start anytime now. I haven't told her parents yet. I want her to do that. I looked at my watch. I have to run. I gulped my coffee and hugged both my friends before grabbing my car keys and heading out the door. We'll act dumb, Rick. As far as she's concerned, we went fishing. It won't hold water for long, but it'll buy you time. I drove quickly away and headed for the motorway. I just needed to get away while the hit the fan. I merged onto the M25 and headed west. That would do for now. My phone continued to vibrate. So far today, I reckon I had about a dozen missed calls. I pulled into the services at South Mims and decided to check my list of calls to see where my wife was. The tracker showed she was at Alfie's. I smiled as I imagined the reception she was getting. They would hold on to the fishing story and drive Helen nuts with it. I was sure she would be a little perplexed and confused until she started receiving messages from her friends at work. I giggled to myself, thinking of what I was doing. It was like playing a game, but this was no game, this was my life, and it was deadly serious. I knew Helen had left Alfie by now and was heading back toward George's place. The witch, can't she stay away from that a-hole? Well, I was sure I wouldn't have long to wait. It was 12:30 p.m., so my emails should have hit the deck, and the responses should be coming in very soon. Texts from Helen. Oh dear, it looks like it started. Good. I chuckled again as I sat in my car. I decided to call Alfie. Alfie, it's Rick. How did it go? Man, she's going crazy. We stuck to the fishing tail. Patty nearly lost it a couple of times, though. She wanted to batter the witch, especially when Helen said she had a nice time in Blackpool and couldn't understand what was wrong with you. I laughed. She's obviously trying to bluff it out. No mention of her car, I suppose. Oh yeah, she stayed at her parents' place, like we didn't already know. I think you were right about her bluffing. No mention of her motor. She turned up here in a cab. She had him wait outside. Just hang in there, okay? You two have been great, by the way. Her bluff isn't going to hold for long. I reckon any minute now, her friends and work colleagues will be calling her. I'm going to lay low until tomorrow when I go to see my solicitor. I'll call you then. Cheers, mate. Love to Patty. I headed around the M25 and turned off toward Heathrow, finding a small hotel that would do for a night or two. I hauled my hold all, which I had packed a few things into ahead of time, from the boot of the car and booked in. The room was basic but comfortable. The quiet was overpowering, though. I laid out my laptop and phone, plugged in the chargers, and meandered round to the pub next door. It was after 3 p.m. now, and breakfast was a long time back. I picked up the menu at the bar and ordered a beer and a steak, sliding into a corner booth. I sipped my beer, it tasted sharp and went down easy. I was looking out the window at the green fields and picnic tables when the waitress brought my steak over. She smiled at me and sashayed away. I looked at her. She was pretty, I suppose, but her figure, although curvy, didn't register with me at all. I felt sort of dead inside, numb, like nothing mattered. I munched slowly through the steak. It was good, but not like the ones Helen made at home, another knife in my heart as I thought of all the things I would miss about her. She had been a really wonderful wife, Gorgeous looking, flirty, sexy, everything a man could want. Over the past year or so, I suppose things had settled down. Maybe work had been on the up for us both, really, with more and more of our time tying up and climbing the greasy pole financially. We were fine. We had our own bank accounts and credit cards, and money wasn't short, so we were comfortable. Our sex life had taken a hit. Now that I think about it, things had been quiet for some months, and maybe I didn't realize we were growing apart. We both had our hobbies. I had my fishing, which used to be obsessive but now was more relaxed and sociable. Helen had her dancing, keep fit, and the odd bridge night. I realized then that we were indeed spending more time apart than before. The keep fit was what spurred her to start dancing again. She had been going with, what's her name? That's it, Brian's wife. The gym was the beginning, then the dancing and cards. When had she started playing bridge, for hell's sake? What was I, blind? I clenched my fist and banged the table, rocking my beer. There were a few odd looks from other customers in the bar. I blushed and calmed down, my mind working through what I now believe to be the start of my problems with Helen. I sank another couple of beers before making my way back to my room. I sat on the bed as I waited for the kettle to boil. I needed a coffee. As far as I could work out, it was Brian and his wife who were the instigators of my wife's affair. They were swingers. Well, it made sense, that's why they swapped partners with George. But he had no partner, so he used my wife in his swaps. I appeared to know who but had no idea as to why. I looked at my phone. It was still flashing with a host of messages and texts. Okay, it was time I took a look. The messages started yesterday, obviously all from Helen, that is until late afternoon when there was one from a number I recognized, George's. I hit that one and listened. I know I can't prove it, but I'm sure it was you who screwed with my car. I won't forget this. Seems like you know I've been screwing Helen for the past few months. Well, she's good in bed, and she loves it when we both do her. Yeah, me and Brian have both had her several times too. She's a good 304, and I'm going to enjoy screwing her even more from now on. You do whatever you've got to do, man. I don't give a s***t. She's in the shower right now. We'll be getting back to it in a few minutes. I'll see you, sucker. I saved the message. I was really pissed now, and this guy was well worth a jail sentence. Screw it. He had obviously left the message without Helen knowing, I reasoned. I grinned as I thought of the damage I did to his car, petty for sure, but a start. I looked at the rest of the messages, nearly all from Helen, some after she found the door locked, and more since we spoke this morning. There were a few others I didn't recognize. It turned out there were 2 from committee members at the club, and a storm was brewing there over the members' behavior. I was advised that those concerned would be necessarily thrown out of the club. That was satisfying as a start, I thought. Then another couple of messages from 2 of Helen's friends at work, asking if it was a hoax, as they could not believe what they were seeing. Shocked, definitely. Disgusted, most certainly. I tapped out a follow-up message to all, stating that Helen had gotten involved with a swinger group without my knowledge and was enjoying new partners outside of our marriage. I also added that I was not prepared to agree to or put up with this behavior and that, from now on, we were not together. I didn't listen to any more of Helen's messages and checked my email. There was a long list of replies to my earlier messages, mostly expressing shock and disbelief at this turn of events. I forwarded all the responses to Helen's email account so she would see how people were reacting to her betrayal. Petty, yes, but I wanted her to understand how many of her friends and colleagues knew what she was doing and how they felt about it too. I closed my laptop and crawled onto the bed. My coffee was a warm comfort before I tried to sleep. Tears filled my eyes as I recalled my life with the woman I loved and now had obviously lost. Her betrayal was all-consuming, it clouded my thinking and made my heart ache. I felt anxious all the time. Adrenaline was coursing through me, making sleep difficult as I wanted to pummel the holes who had done this to us. Then I realized it was her, she had done this to us. At that moment, I wanted to kill the witch. I was so angry. I drifted into sleep and surprisingly slept until almost 8 a.m., that's almost 9 hours, really good for me. I showered and shaved, looking at myself in the mirror. I looked as if I had aged 10 years since Friday. I stared into my eyes and saw a determined, yet sad, look. Screw it. Today, we are going to deal with this. Screw them all. I dressed and had breakfast at the pub. In an hour, I was checked out and on my way back home. My mind was working fast yet calm and sort of blank at the same time. An icy calm wrapped around me like a protective shield. I would need it today. I met with my solicitor, who listened to my case and started on the necessary paperwork straight away. I was not in the mood to listen to any talk of counseling or reconciliation and shut him down quickly. He soon got the message. He informed me he would call me when everything was ready. I told him I wanted to sue for adultery and named the two A*** holes as correspondence. I didn't give A***T how difficult it made things. As far as I was concerned, my marriage was over, and if things worked out, the guilty parties would pay all the costs. I would have my day in court too. Screw them all. With that done, I headed home. I pulled up outside my house and sat, looking at it. Less than a week ago, I shared this with my wife. Now I knew her only as a stranger, and she would never set foot in there again. I was thinking of putting it on the market, but then I thought, no, screw it. I'm keeping it. I went inside and looked around. It felt empty. It sounded empty too. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I looked at it. It was Helen. This was the first call today. It was almost 12 p.m. Maybe she had been otherwise engaged with Georgie boy. I chuckled grimly at the thought that while I was suffering, those two were screwing like rabbits without a care in the world. I sat in my recliner, got comfortable, and answered the call. Yes, you hole. What the hell have you done? I'm getting calls from everyone about some photos and a video, apparently showing something to do with me and George. You hole. Why didn't you talk to me first? My work colleagues have been calling, giving me grief. My friends have done the same. Even the club has basically told me I'm not welcome. Why, Rick? Listen, you 304, I know everything. I know who, where, and when. I have pictures of all four of you screwing. I even have the video. All I need now is the t-shirt. Talk to you? For what? So you can tell me how you were screwing other guys and I'm supposed to be fine with it? Never going to happen. Did you get the message yet? We need to talk, Rick. Let me explain, please. This has to stop. Stop? You witch, I have only just started. What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling a little now. You and your sex buddies have pissed me off. Now you can all just screw off quietly, or I will make you understand. Don't be silly, Rick. You're just annoyed and overreacting. We need to talk, please. Overreacting? Listen, you jump sucker, I have started divorce proceedings. Want me to repeat that for you? I'm naming your sex buddies in my petition, and I don't give T how much trouble that causes me, you, or them. But I will have my way. Fight me on this and you'll get precisely T. You understand me? We are done. Over. Finished. Divorce? What? Why? But it was just. You can't, Rick. You can't just throw me away like that. Yes, I can, you witch. And it is you who has thrown our marriage away, not me. I'm just ending this farce. You can't be serious, Rick. Please stop and think about this. Where will I go? My friends, they all know. They're calling and saying things. The people I work with too. My boss even knows. Everyone knows because you told them, you creep. Stop this, Rick. Stop it. Helen, not everyone knows, though. Do they? What? Who doesn't know? The realization hit her. Oh my God, you haven't told my parents. Please tell me you didn't. No, I haven't told them. I thought I'd leave it for you to do. Would be so much better coming from you, don't you think? Tell them how their ever-loving daughter has been screwing around with a couple of swingers and is now the toast of the town. I'm sure they'll be so proud of you, don't you think, sweetie? I'll give you an hour from now to tell them before I do it for you. Pictures and video, all of it. Do you understand me, witch? There was silence, save for the quiet sobbing over the phone. One last thing, Helen. I know you've been staying with George. I hope you two will be very happy together. I'm sure he has plenty of friends who will want to share you with him, so you won't run out of fresh meat anytime soon. Did you know he kindly left me a message yesterday? Obviously, when you got back from your sex fest, he said he was going to be screwing you from now on. Tell him thanks for that. I have passed that on to my solicitor too. You hurt me, you witch, so screw off and do whatever you and George do best. I don't want to speak to you anymore. Now I just want to know why. When you're ready to tell me, call me. But don't waste my time. I'm done with you. The clock is ticking. I ended the call. My head was spinning. I was so angry, I sagged back into the chair. I felt so listless, exhausted, and totally wrung out. Well, I had told her. I knew it was over the phone, but what the hell? The witch knows she's busted. I took small comfort in the fact that so many people now knew she had been screwing around, and also that I had been an unknowing fool while she did it. Screw it. I poured a large JD and sat back down. It had been a busy day. I looked at the clock. She had 35 minutes before the time expired. I steeled myself. I wasn't sure if she would tell her parents, but if I had to do it, I would and send them the information I had too. I closed my eyes as the tears started to fall, stinging wet rivers down my face as I mourned the loss of my friend of so many years. I sat in a daze when the phone broke my malaise. I looked at it as it rang, wondering who it could be. Slowly, I eased myself upright and ambled unenthusiastically towards the ringing handset. I picked it up as I walked back to my chair. Hello? Rick, it's me. I just had a call from Helen. I'm sorry, son, really I am. She has just told me the biggest pile of S***T and bull story I've ever heard. She wanted me to call you to let you know she has told us. I know you have pictures and the rest of it, but I don't need to see that. I understand now what's in the boxes you brought over. Now look, is there no way you can talk this through? I'm only asking, son. You know I think a lot of you. I gulped as I tried to formulate an answer. There were sobs building in my throat, and I was having a hard time holding them back. Look, Dad, you've been great. I'm sorry it has to be this way, but truthfully, I can't see a way around this. It's been going on for too long. Maybe a one-off thing would be different, but this has been regular deceit. I don't think I can do it. I understand, son. Look, we are both here for you. Anytime you need anything, you call me. You hear me? Sure, Dad. I don't know exactly what she told you, so I must send you the email with all the dirt on her. I'm afraid it's up to you whether you open it, but only do so if you have any doubts about her story. I'm sorry, I have to go now. Bye for now. I put the phone down, and the tears exploded from my eyes. Deep, sorrowful sobs echoed around the room. Evening came, and the room slowly darkened. I stirred from my chair and put my phone on charge. There were a few more messages that I had missed. As I looked, I saw that Georgie boy had called again not long ago. It seemed so Cucky had all upset and thrown his rattle out of the pram. Oh dear me. Listen, you punk. Helen is with me now, so stop being a prick and get used to it. We're going to be drilling day and night from now on, just like she wants it. And when I can't do her, one of my friends will step in. She's already met Brian, as you know. Tonight, I have visitors coming round. Don't worry, we will keep her satisfied. Night-night, Cucky. I wasn't sure what his game was other than to further humiliate me and use Helen. This seemed to be escalating, though. Maybe this was his version of payback for his car and being booted out of the club. Either way, I didn't like it, and I was sure Helen was not aware of what he was planning. I needed to get Helen to wise up to this guy. He was a predator, and my marriage was already toast because of him. I wasn't sure what I could or even should do. I then decided to do something really crazy. I called Brian. I had some concerns about this, but he and his wife were confirmed swingers. They had no reason to not be open about things, surely. Hello. You don't know me, but I'm Helen's husband. Don't hang up, okay? Listen, pal, we were all consenting adults. If you have a problem, I suggest you see your wife about it. Listen, Brian, my name is Rick. I had no idea what the hell was going on until last weekend. Now I'm dealing with my wife, but that's not why I called you. I want to know about George. What the hell is he up to? I know he used my wife as his swing partner, but what else is he into? Listen, Rick, your wife is your problem. I've known George only for a few months, and to be fair, I'm not keen on playing with him anymore. He likes to get a little handy, if you know what I mean. Swapping is one thing, but he's getting so it's a little more than just swapping, sort of more demanding, if you get my drift. Also, we've never used anything before or needed Viagra, but he does. That's what happened at the weekend. He kept going and going. He pounded my wife's, well, you know, and still wanted more. She got worried, and to be honest, so did I. Has he mentioned group sex before to you? I know this is weird, but I need to know. Yes, he did. He also talked about gangbangs, but I'm not into that, and neither is my wife. We like to play, of course, but that's going too far. I don't know if he mentioned that to Helen. I'd be surprised if he did, though, as he only asked me on the side. He said it would be a surprise for the girls if we arranged it. I told him no way, and that's when I decided we were done with him. If you're asking about it, I think something may have happened then. Well, yes, it has, but I'm putting two and two together here. Helen and I aren't together at the moment, but I'm still concerned about her. You split, but we thought you were okay with it all. That's what they both said to us. Oh my Jay-Z, man, and I'm sorry. Honestly, we didn't know. Thanks for that, at least, but it doesn't help us any. I'm going to try to get hold of Helen before something bad happens. Okay, look, good luck. If there's anything we can do, just ask. I'm sorry, man. I put the phone down. It was almost 7 p.m. I called Alfie and told him the latest. Within 20 minutes, we were both headed towards George's place. We parked down the road from his house. Did you bring the gear? Yes, of course I did. What am I, stupid? It's all there. We scrambled into the back of his truck and changed clothes into boiler suits, balaclavas, bad gloves, and latex gloves over the top. The bad gloves were great for protecting the knuckles during training. The boots were steel-capped, and the bats were an added incentive Alfie thought was necessary. There was also a bag with spare overalls, gaffer tape, and a hood. I looked at my watch. It was almost 8:30 p.m. Where had the time gone? I hoped we were in time. One way or another, whatever was going on was going to stop tonight, maybe permanently. For heaven's sake, Rick, go easy. Don't lose it, or we could face jail. We just need to issue a lesson. No matter what Helen has done, she doesn't deserve to be abused. Okay, you clear? I nodded at him, my adrenaline pumping as I was keen to get this over with. Straight and through the back door, no messing. Bang, grab the witch, and out. Okay, don't forget, not a word to her. It was dark outside now. We slipped out of the truck and silently moved across the road and down the side of George's house. We eased over the back gate and unlocked it, leaving our escape route open. As we neared the back patio doors, we could hear the moans and laughter from inside. I froze. Too late. Alfie poked me with his bat, and we shuffled towards the back door to the kitchen. He leaned on the handle, and it moved easily. He looked at me widely as he pulled his mask down, and I could make out the grin. We crept through the kitchen towards the light glowing into the hallway from the lounge area. The noises of the screwing grew louder, the unmistakable moans from Helen and the chuckles from the men in the room made it seem as if they were all having fun. We could make out the flash of a camera as they took photos of their witch. That's a woman, yes, that's it, she is really good. George, you have a real hot one here. Yes, shame her hubby couldn't give her what she needed. They all laughed at that. Still, he will get to see the video we are making, and that will pay the idiot back for my car. I was getting really agitated now, and Alfie was getting set to pounce. We looked at each other and counted fingers down from 3 to 2. When we crashed through the door, bats swinging, we heard a crack. George took one across the back of his neck and stumbled forward on top of Helen. The guy in her mouth yelled as the shock caused her to bite down on his tool. Alfie silenced him with a bat round the jaw. 2 down, 1 to go. We looked around and saw a woman. I raised my bat to deliver a blow to her head when Alfie grabbed it. The 2 men lay moaning. We returned to them and gave them both a good kicking, and there wasn't much that didn't get clobbered. The woman started screaming. Alfie slapped her hard. "Don't hurt me, please don't hurt me," she stared at him. We looked at each other, not knowing what to do. I looked around. Helen was knocked out when the guy had fallen on her. She lay on her back, her legs spread wide and obscenely. There were bite marks all over her chest and neck. It looked like this had been quite a session. Stupid witch. As much as I hated her for what she had done, I loved her at the same time. Screw it, was I confused? We managed to find out that the woman, Joyce, was the wife of the guy with George. We impressed on her that she had been part of a sexual assault and, as such, we were doing her a favor by not battering the hell out of her. Alfie spoke to her, then used the gaffer tape to secure and gag her until her lover stirred. They were in no state to move for a while, and then only slowly. We collected the cameras and video equipment and smashed them to bits as she watched. I dressed Helen, who was still out of it, maybe drugged or something. Anyway, she wasn't right. The woman confirmed they had all used ecstasy, which explained it. We turned off all the lights and left, carrying my wife in the truck. We stripped and bagged all our clothing, tossing it into a bin on the way to Helen's parents' place. She started to come around a little as we fed her water. Pulling up outside her parents' house, I looked around, and Alfie knocked on the door. When the door opened, I slung my wife over my shoulder and pelted for the open door. The look on her mom's face was priceless. I carried her straight upstairs and into her bedroom. I stripped the overalls off her and saw what a mess her body was in. It brought tears to my eyes as I looked at the woman I had loved for so long, now bearing the marks of another man's lust all over her. "What, Rick? What is going on?" Her mom had followed me up the stairs, her father right behind. "Helen needs you both right now. I can't explain it all right now, but she has been even more stupid than we thought. Alfie and I have just pulled her out of what could have been a really bad situation, one that was only going to get worse. She may not thank me, but I do care about her, no matter what she has done. Take care of her. I've got to go. Burn these, will you?" I handed her the overalls. We closed the door and jumped into the truck. I looked at Alfie. We grinned and high-fived each other. That screwed their evening up somewhat, don't you think? "Take me home, James, and don't spare the horses." I lay in bed listening to the silence, interspersed with the regular ticking from the clock on the bedroom wall. I opened my eyes to focus on the clock face. It was just after 9 a.m., and I had slept for almost 9 straight hours. That was unusual for me, as I normally operate on around 6 hours maximum a night. Even then, I can wake with a thick head at times. Today, I lay in bed, looking around at the empty space where my wife would have been normally. But these weren't normal times. I sighed as I recalled the events of the past few days and beyond. She wasn't here and probably hadn't really been here for some time. In truth, that thought saddened me. The ache in my chest started, and my eyes misted with tears for my loss, the loss of my friend and lover, my life, my marriage, my future too. I sobbed as the tears flowed freely. I could not move as my heart broke. The grief overcame me for several minutes as I mourned my loss. The phone rang, a persistent and annoying ringing breaking into my reverie and interfering with my misery. The ringing kept on. Why won't the machine kick in? I thought. Then I roused myself, threw the duvet aside, swung out of bed, and grabbed the handset. "Hello," I snarled. "Rick, you okay?" "It's Patty." "Sorry, Patty, I didn't mean to snap." "I'm fine, really." "Well, no, I'm not really. It's all been a bit much to handle. I just feel lost or something." I will be okay, I replied, not really convincing myself. For her sake, are you up and dressed? If not, get dressed and come on over. We're having a late breakfast. You need to eat and look after yourself now. We can talk about what you want to happen next, so come on, get moving. See you soon. We're expecting you. With that, she put the phone down. I stared at myself in the dressing table mirror. Man, I looked like. I sat staring at the gaunt face looking back at me before I shook myself out of the fog and went for a shower and got dressed. 15 minutes later, I grabbed some orange juice from the fridge and gulped it down as I headed out the door. The drive over to my friend's place was strangely relaxing. With the window open and my radio pounding out AC/DC, my mood began to cool as I drove. I had time to think about the kids. With all the goings-on, I hadn't given either of them much conscious thought. I would have to do something to contact them both, and fast. Ryan was away on a football tour and was due back at the end of next week, but I needed to tell him that things had changed dramatically at this end. But how do I tell him what his mother had been doing? Rachel was another problem. She was on holiday with 3 of her girlfriends, kicking up their heels before going off to university. I would have to try her mobile, but there was no telling if I could get through. The thought of spilling the beans on their mother was not something I relished. They were old enough to understand what she had done, but if I couldn't understand why, then what chance did they have? Patty met me at the door and hugged me like a long-lost brother. I needed that. She made me feel like I was human and not a failure as a man. Somehow, she looked at me, holding my face so I couldn't avert her eyes. You are a lovely man. Don't you forget it. Just because Helen has screwed up royally doesn't mean it's your fault or that all women are that way. Patty, put the poor man down, Alfie said, rolling his eyes at his wife as she stood with her eyes misting up. We sat and ate a hearty breakfast. It was just what I needed after the tension of the past few days. Well, we're still here, mate. No police or anything, so maybe things will stay that way. Let's hope so, Alfie said, sipping his coffee as he looked at me. Yeah, thanks for everything, mate. I really appreciate it. You too, Patty. I love the pair of you. Yeah, that's enough of all that crap. We need to work out what's next. Well, I still haven't seen Helen's car arrive home yet, so that needs to be sorted. I don't know if I should get it towed to her parents' place or just leave it where it is. I don't know how I feel about her at this moment. Patty looked at me and put her hand on mine. Look, Rick, it has been a hell of a few days. Maybe you need to take a breather before you do anything else. The first thing is to make sure that George isn't going to cause any further problems. And of course, you will need to talk to the kids and Helen too. After that, are you going to work it out with her or what? Patty, I can't get past what she did. Even after last night, she still went into this willingly and cheated on me with the 2 of them, and maybe others, for almost 6 months. I can't forgive that, however much I love her and hate what she did. I couldn't just leave her to be abused, could I? The thing is, Rick, she may well have submitted to that willingly. We don't really know, do we? I stared at her as her words sank in. She was right. Helen may have wanted to be used like that. It was incredible to me, as she had never shown any signs of wanting that sort of sex before. I had no idea. I began to wonder if I knew her at all. That's what worries me. If that's the case, then I don't know her at all. And if she has chosen that sort of lifestyle, then I am not a part of it. We are done. I had already started the ball rolling to hit back at her from several directions at once because I couldn't get past what she had done. Without thinking things could get any worse, I said, "You're going to have to speak to her sometime, Rick." "I don't have to, Alfie. If I need to know anything, I can talk to her parents or go through my solicitor. The wheels are turning there already, as well as the chaos I started amongst her work colleagues and friends. I'm trying to decide if her family need to know any more details about what she is like. I did speak to her father and send him the email with all the information, but I don't think he will look at it unless Helen spins him a real sob story. I will leave that for now, but if she pisses me off, they will see exactly what she is. My concern now is the kids. Luckily, they are both away, and I don't see the point in telling Ryan until he gets home next week. Although, thinking about it, there's always a chance he could hear something through one of the coaches. I will have to contact him urgently. I think Rachel is way back packing and I don't expect another call from her until the end of this week. I will email her and get her to contact me ASAP. Want me to call her parents and see how things are, Rick? Patty asked. No, that's okay. I need to do it myself. I'll fill them in on my plans to tell the kids at the same time. I sat in the home office and dialed Helen's parents' number. Her father answered after 2 rings. Hello. How are things this morning? There, Helen is still sleeping. Probably a good thing. We'll get her cleaned up when she wakes and see what her version of events is. I'm sorry, son. Thank you for what you did last night. I hope you don't get into any bother over it. I don't think that will happen. The guys know I mean business now. The fact that I broke up their little party before it got really started should warn them off. We'll have to wait and see, but there were no police waking me at home this morning anyway. Will you call by and see Helen soon? I don't think that's a good idea. She started this months ago, and after what she has done over the weekend and since, I am in no mood to take her back. Best to let things lie for a while. I have started divorce proceedings. I can't forgive or forget what she's done. She cuckolded me, and there are guys at the club who were involved and knew. I will not forgive that humiliation. I understand, son, but at least talk to her at some point. I don't think that's a good idea at the moment. Let me know if there's anything I can do or if anything changes, okay? Lastly, I have decided that the kids need to know we are having a few problems. I don't want them hearing it from someone else. I hope you understand, but it needs to be done. Are you sure about that, Rick? I mean, you may get to work things out, and they need never know about this mess. Although I understand why you need to tell them something. Thanks again. Whatever happens, I will tell her you cared enough to try to save her from herself. I put the phone down and sat quietly for a few minutes before Alfie came looking for me. Let's go get Helen's car. I know it's a wreck, but it still drives, and it's best not to leave it where it is. I'll borrow a low loader, and we can get it covered up and back to your garage. I thought about that, but she started this. Okay, we trashed her car, so why would I not want to make it better? The witch deserves what she gets, and if that's a little humiliation, then so be it. No, screw it. I'm done with her. It can stay where it is for a few days. Alfie backed away and joined Patty in the kitchen. What do you expect? That witch has ripped his heart and lungs out. Of course, he's angry and wants to lash out at her. She deserves whatever she gets, Patty spat at her husband. Okay, I get it. I was just trying to help. I know, she said, hugging him tight. Love her, she purred. An hour or so later, my phone rang. It was Helen. Alfie and Patty both looked at me, wondering what I was going to do. I answered the call. I am so sorry, Rick. Her words hung in the air as I waited for her to continue. I want to apologize. I realize you know what has been going on. I am so sorry, Rick. It was just, well, just sex, really. I love you so much. I didn't want to hurt you. We didn't mean to hurt you. Stop right there, witch. My outburst sent shockwaves through the air. Alfie and Patty looked at me. First off, you have a strange way of showing you love me. Is screwing other guys the way you do that nowadays? Because I sure as hell don't get that. As for not wanting to hurt me, that only works if you don't get caught or don't do it in the first place. So you screwed that up too. The "it was only sex" standard doesn't fly either. It wasn't only sex, it was sex with at least 2 other men. For heaven's sake. But Rick, I do love you. Why did you send my friends those photos? It was so embarrassing trying to explain them to my friends, my boss too. Why, Rick? Our sex life is supposed to be private. Private, you stupid 304? What is private about you having sex with other men? It was easy to send those photos to your friends. You humiliated me by screwing 2 guys from the club and joining in their swinging scene, leaving me as the stupid cuck husband. Other people already knew. Helen, I thought you deserved some of your own medicine. As for your boss, I thought he needed to know what his workforce would all be talking about. But Rick, don't you see? I have nowhere to go now. My work colleagues all know our business, as well as everyone at the club too. George told me yesterday that we have been thrown out of the club. That's not fair. You were kidding me, right? You haven't asked what you can do to make this better, haven't pleaded for my forgiveness, or even considered the effect this has had on me at all. You selfish scumsucker. Screw you! All you are concerned about is your friends finding out and you getting tossed out of the club. That's not true. I do love you and want to make it up to you too. So much so that you spent the past couple of days since you returned from your dirty weekend away in his bed. The line went quiet. Nothing to say, dear wife? I know you were at his place the night you came back and again the night after, even though you told Patty you were at your parents'. Don't lie to me, because I know. But how? I was at. Don't stay with George. One more lie, and I'm putting the phone down for good. Got it? Okay, Rick, I am sorry. Yes, you were right, we did have a dirty weekend. I did have sex with George and Brian in Blackpool, and I don't regret it, she said defiantly. It was great. It was exciting, and I wanted it. Brian said you would probably get turned on by the idea of me with another guy. He said that he and his wife were swingers and that they both got turned on by the idea of sharing with others, even strangers. Brian said he was sure you would be the same. Well, he was wrong about that, wasn't he? I said loudly enough for her to get the message. The line was silent for a few seconds as I tried to rein in my temper. I think after my chat with him yesterday and what happened last night, he has gotten that message loud and clear too. You spoke to Brian? She asked nervously. Yes, he told me all about the lies you and George fed him, telling him that I was okay with it all. That wasn't exactly true, was it? The line was quiet. I could almost hear the cogs in her mind turning. Helen decided on a change of tack as she was just getting deeper, and this conversation wasn't going how she wanted. My dad said I need to thank you for getting me out of there last night, but there was no need really. I knew what was going on and agreed to it. I know I was out of it, but we thought, after what had already happened, things couldn't get any worse, and we were just having fun. You really are stupid, Helen. Did you know they were filming it all, taking photos of you being double-teamed? Well, yes, I sort of knew. Brian and George said some friends of theirs make these sorts of videos and pass them around their circle of friends. It was just a bit of fun, is all. It's no big deal, she said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world to have sex with strangers and then have it recorded and broadcast to others. I was dumbfounded. I can't believe you agreed to that. I don't know you at all. What the hell has happened to you, Helen? I can't speak to you anymore. This is all bollocks. Screw you, screw your sex buddies, screw off. I was furious. I wanted to strangle the witch. I really can't talk to you anymore, Helen. You are not my wife. I don't know what happened to her, but you are a stranger to me. Before I end this call, I'm going to send you a copy of a text message from your sex buddy now. I ended the call and forwarded the text message George sent me. Then I slammed my phone down on the table, my fist clenched. I was really pumped and angrier than I ever thought possible. She was up for it with those a-holes. She knew they were filming the action. We should have left the witch there. Two pairs of eyes stare at me, mouths open in shock at what they had overheard. I am done with the witch. If I can, I will ruin her. I can't believe what she was saying to me as if it was nothing. For heaven's sake, no I'm sorry or anything. She has no conscience, no thought for me, the kids, or anyone at all. Alfie and Patty both shook their heads as Rick went into the home office and fired up his laptop again. The email he sent was copied to both his children. It was brief, asking them to call him as soon as possible. It was urgent, but no one had died or anything, it was important. I sat back, my fist balled tightly as I stared into space, my mind churning with visions of my once faithful wife now replaced by a wanton in a homemade spicy video. How the hell has this happened? What did I do to cause this? Why didn't I see it before? What the hell do I do now? If there had been any doubt in my mind about where I stood with Helen before, that was now gone. It was clear that whatever had driven her to act in this way had killed any love we had together. The actions I had already taken were in revenge and born out of anger and some real spite too. Now, there was no way forward other than to finish it completely. I would have to talk to the kids, but at the moment, that was difficult. I wanted to do it face to face and at least try to explain in some way. I could just go ahead and divorce the witch anyway, but they would ask questions. I needed to be prepared for that. Alfie, did you happen to grab any of the memory cards from the cameras the other night? I looked at him. His face told the story as he saw the wildness in my eyes. He looked fearful. You know I did, Rick. They're in the desk drawer in front of you. There's no way I can get Helen back. I can't accept what she has done, and from what she has said, there is no remorse on her side at all. I'm going to copy the videos to my solicitor and to everyone else I can think of. There is no way back. The couple looked at their friend and understood. They were watching the final throes of his marriage. It had been traumatic thus far, but now Rick seemed to have gone over the top and was spiraling out of control as he headed for the exit of his marriage to Helen. Rick took the memory cards and downloaded the video and photographs to his laptop. In a few minutes, he had started to make copies. Alfie and Patty sat in their kitchen, sipping coffee as they listened to Rick tapping away at the keyboard. I think he's really done, don't you? Patty said, looking at her husband. Yes, afraid so. It has been one hell of a ride this past week. I would never have believed it could happen to those two, but here we are. It just goes to show you don't really know people, though. Almost 20 minutes later, Rick appeared at the door. He looked awful, his eyes were red and misty. Physically, he looked drained, as if the life had been sucked out of him. The man they knew so well was now a shell of himself. I have sent copies of everything to my solicitor and asked him to push the divorce as fast as he can. I have taken all the money from all of the accounts and transferred it to one in my name only. Screw her. I also sent all her friends the videos too. Spiteful, I know, but why should I be the only one with those images in my head? I am past caring now. I need the kids to get in touch ASAP so I can tell them what to expect when they return. That is my only concern now. I am done with that. They watched as Rick collapsed to his knees, the emotions he had kept in check for the past week now released as he couldn't fight them off any longer. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he sobbed deeply and loudly, mourning his marriage. Patty dived to him and wrapped her arms around him, hugging him as his whole body jerked with each sob. Alfie felt tears fall from his eyes as he watched his friend disintegrate in front of him. 2 days later, Rick put the phone down after speaking to his daughter. His face was wet from the tears that had fallen as he explained, in the barest detail, what her mother had done. Rachel was sobbing too but remained stoic in her support for her dad. He was her hero, and she was behind him all the way. Even though she didn't understand all of what her mother had done, she knew that if she had upset her dad, that was all the reason she needed. The call with Ryan was different. He was defensive of his mother but realized he was fighting an uphill battle as his father remained firm on his intent to divorce. Rick was saddened but, in some way, relieved as he sat back with the sounds of his children's words in his ears. Are you sure, Dad? Kept ringing over and over as he stared out across the patio at the looming twilight. Damn right I am sure, he said aloud as he downed the last of his JD. He looked at the half-empty bottle, deciding he had had enough for one evening. He stood and wandered over to the phone. He plugged the cord back in and pressed the answer machine. He heard he had 37 messages. He had only turned it off this morning. Rick pressed play, and the messages started, Rick, it's me. Delete. Rick, delete. Rick, delete. This went on until he heard one from Patty. Rick, we know you want to be alone, but just call us. Let us know you're okay. Hang in there, big guy. He smiled. He deleted more messages from Helen. He deleted each one. He had no intention of speaking to her at all, it was just too painful. Helen's father, Rick, it's me. How are you doing? Just call and let me know you're okay. Helen was served with the papers today. I also know there are several videos circulating. Son, I am sorry you did that, but I can understand your hurt. Just let me know you're okay." As he deleted the last message, the phone rang to life, startling him as he had been on autopilot for the last few minutes. He picked up the receiver, saying nothing. "Rick? Rick, are you there? Please don't hang up. I know it's too late, but we need to talk. Rick, talk to me. I had a man serve me with divorce papers today at my parents' house. We can talk about this. What about the kids? We can get past this. Talk to me." Silence. "I know you're there, Rick. Talk. Say something." Nothing. Rick stood in the dim light of the home he had shared with her, listening to the last throes of his life with her as she struggled to hold on to him. "There is no money in the account, Rick. What have you done? There are things we need to talk about. Damn it, talk to me." He listened as she started to sob. He smiled, realizing she was losing control. "Rick, I am sorry. I messed up. I don't know why. It was just exciting and naughty and sexy too. It was just sex. I couldn't help it. George took advantage of me. I know he did, but I don't understand how." Silence. She knew he was listening as she started to be honest for the first time. He could hear that too. Maybe we could, she thought for a millisecond. "Rick, the videos, why did you send the videos? Everyone knows about them now. They all think I'm a whore," she sobbed, hoping to hear his voice telling her it would be okay. But there was nothing. "Did you have to post them on the internet, though?" Her sobbing grew deeper and uncontrolled for a few seconds. He stood impassive as he listened to his soon-to-be ex-wife pouring her heart out. "Rick, is there nothing I can say or do to stop this and get back to where we were? Please, Rick, answer me. Talk to me. If you love me at all, please talk to me." Her words floated through his mind as he wiped the tears from his face. His heart ached, and he felt dizzy as he knew this was the endgame approaching. He knew he could never take her back. He had promised himself to her and no other. He had kept his part of the bargain, but she chose to throw him away for some sleazy sex in a Blackpool hotel with her sex buddies. No, there was no way back. He and the kids would be fine eventually and move on. He knew it would be hard, but that's life. "No," was all he said as he put the receiver down and turned the ringer off. He turned and wearily climbed the stairs to his bedroom now, not theirs. He lay on the bed and let the tears flow again. It was over. The divorce was messy. It took 8 months for Rick to be free. Helen was still involved with George a few weeks after their divorce. Helen and George were participating in a group session at George's place when one of the guys, high on crystal meth and Viagra, lost his mind. He ended up beating George to death. By the time the cops arrived, he had assaulted Helen so badly that she had to be put into emergency care. Helen's father did call Rick and inform him about the incident. "Would you come to see her?" he asked. "No, she is not my wife anymore, and I really don't care what happens to her," Rick replied and hung up. The next news Rick received about Helen was when his son called to inform him that Mom is dead. Rick never went to her funeral. Instead, he sat at home and gulped down a shot of his favorite JD.